Fiona Langley's suitcase toppled sideways as she stumbled out of the security line, breathless, her boarding pass crumpled in her fist and her heart pounding harder than her heels hitting the glossy airport floor. "Gate C-32, she gasped to a passing attendant. The woman winced. "Flight to Miami." "It just pulled back from the gate." Fiona blinked. "No, no, 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 please." She tried to run anyway, weaving past travelers and dragging her lopsided roller behind her. She turned the corner just in time to see the jet bridge door shut with a final, soul-crushing click. Her shoulders dropped. "You've got to be kidding me." She'd rushed through the morning chaos, skipped breakfast, even spilled coffee on her only clean blouse, and for what? To miss the flight that would have taken her to her best friend's wedding, the first vacation she'd had in 2 years. She sank onto the nearest bench, gripping her phone like it might offer a miracle. But the boarding gate was empty now, the terminal quiet except for the distant buzz of a vending machine and the low murmur of a man on a phone call nearby. "I don't care what the board thinks," the man said sharply into his phone. "If they want to pull out, they can. I'll buy them out myself." Fiona glanced over. The voice was deep, commanding. The man was dressed in a crisp white dress shirt, sleeves rolled up, eyes sharp behind thick lashes. His dark hair was tousled like he'd run his hand through it one too many times. He looked out of place sitting in an airport waiting area like he belonged in a corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows and a skyline view. He caught her looking. "I just missed my flight," she blurted, instantly regretting it. She wasn't even sure why she said it. He raised an eyebrow, ending his call with a quick, "I'll handle it," before sliding his phone into his jacket pocket. "Rough morning?" he asked, his voice surprisingly warm. Fiona gave a short laugh. "That obvious? You've got one shoe untied, a coffee stain on your sleeve, and the look of someone who just watched their vacation disappear." He held out a hand. "I'm Jace Prescott." She hesitated, then shook it. "Fiona Langley and, yeah." "That's exactly what happened." "Where were you headed?" "Miami. My best friend's wedding. I'm the maid of honor. And now I get to tell her I missed my flight because TSA decided my dry shampoo was a hazard." She sighed. "There's no way I'll get on another flight before tomorrow." Jace studied her for a moment, then stood. "Come on," she blinked. "Come on." "Where?" "Private terminal." He said it like it was obvious. "I'm flying to Miami too. I've got room." Fiona stared at him. "You're serious?" "Completely." "You're offering a private flight to a stranger you just met." "I'm offering to help someone who looks like she could really use a break." His expression didn't change. "You can say no." Fiona hesitated. Every part of her brain screamed that this was crazy. But Jace didn't feel dangerous. He felt calm, grounded, and if she didn't at least try, she'd be stuck here all day. "Okay," she said slowly. "But if you turn out to be a serial killer, I'm going to haunt you." He grinned. "Deal?" The private terminal was nothing like the crowded chaos she'd just left. It was quiet, with leather chairs, soft music, and staff who greeted Jace like they knew him. Within minutes, they were climbing aboard a sleek black jet with cream interiors and a fully stocked bar. "You're not just rich," Fiona muttered as she sank into a plush seat. "You're rich." Jace poured her a glass of champagne and handed it over. "I own a few companies, investments mostly." She raised an eyebrow. "That's vague." He just smiled. "It's vacation, remember? No business talk unless you want to trade stock tips." Fiona took the glass and leaned back. "I don't even have stock. I have overdue student loans and a part-time job at a marketing agency that still pays me in Starbucks gift cards sometimes." Jace chuckled. "Then consider this flight a break from all that." As the plane lifted off, Fiona felt the tension in her shoulders finally ease. She glanced over at Jace, who had undone his top buttons and was looking out the window with a quiet, contemplative look. "Why are you going to Miami?" she asked. "My sister's birthday. She's turning 21. Big party, lots of drama. You don't seem like the party type." "I'm not, but showing up matters." Fiona studied him. "You don't talk like most rich guys." "You know a lot of rich guys." "No. But I've watched enough dating shows to recognize the signs." She smiled. "You're different." Jace looked at her for a long moment. "So are you." They spent the rest of the flight talking about everything, about her dream to start her own design firm one day, about how he hated being called a CEO because it made people treat him like a walking paycheck. He told her about growing up with nothing, building his first company from his college dorm, and how success didn't fix everything, it just made the problems more expensive. "I like you," Fiona said honestly as they landed. "You're real." Jace looked over. "Most people just like the jet. I haven't even taken a selfie yet." That might be a first. As they stepped off the plane, Fiona's phone buzzed. "Oh my God, the bride's going to kill me." "I told her I'd be at the rehearsal dinner." Jace glanced at his watch. "We've got time, I'll drop you off." He didn't just drop her off. He had a black car waiting, and when they pulled up to the beachfront hotel, Fiona's mouth dropped. "Wait. This isn't my hotel." "I know," Jace said, stepping out like it was nothing. "It's mine, and your room's already set up, ocean view." "What?" He turned to her, serious now. "Fiona, you missed a flight, and I think maybe it was the best thing that could have happened." She stared at him. "Why?" "Because I wouldn't have met you." Her heart flipped. Just like that, and she knew this wasn't just going to be a vacation. Fiona didn't remember falling asleep, but when she woke, the scent of salt air drifted through the open balcony doors, and sunlight spilled across the bed's white linen sheets. Her dress from the rehearsal dinner was still draped over the back of the velvet armchair, and her heels sat haphazardly by the door. She blinked at the unfamiliar luxury, trying to make sense of it. This wasn't the budget hotel she'd originally booked. This was something else entirely: soft Egyptian cotton sheets, hand-painted tiles in the bathroom, and a balcony overlooking the Atlantic where waves crashed against ivory sand like something out of a film. She stepped out onto the terrace, barefoot, the breeze cooling her cheeks. Down below, an event team was setting up what looked like a private dinner on the beach, white linens fluttering, lanterns swinging gently on overhead wires, a string quartet rehearsing a soft melody. Before she could wrap her head around it, there was a knock at the door. She opened it to find Jace standing there, holding 2 mugs of coffee. He was wearing a navy button-down with the sleeves cuffed at the wrists, his normally tousled hair swept back like he'd just walked out of a photo shoot. "I figured you'd need this," he said, holding one out. "You didn't exactly get a full night's rest." Fiona took the cup, surprised by the warmth in her chest that had nothing to do with the drink. "Thank you for all of this. I don't even know what to say." "You don't have to say anything." He leaned casually against the doorframe. "I just thought you deserved to wake up somewhere beautiful." She took a sip, studying him over the rim. "Is this your hotel?" "I have a stake in it. A friend of mine runs it, but I helped fund the restoration a few years back." She blinked. "Of course you did," he laughed. "Don't worry, I'm not going to start naming buildings after myself." Fiona tilted her head. "You seem different here, not as guarded." "Maybe because I'm not usually around people who don't expect something from me." His voice was quieter now. "You're not impressed by the plane or the money. You're just you." She hesitated. "Is that a good thing?" "It's the best thing." She felt her cheeks warm and quickly changed the subject. "So what's with the beach setup downstairs?" He shrugged. "Just thought it might be nice to have dinner with a view tonight." "Dinner with me?" "Unless you have other plans with the bridal party," she groaned. "Don't remind me. They already think I'm some flaky disaster. I showed up halfway through the rehearsal with my dress half wrinkled and no idea where I was supposed to stand." "You still went," he said, his eyes steady. "That counts for something." She looked at him. "Why are you being so nice to me?" Jace's expression shifted, something unreadable passing through his gaze. "Because it's rare to meet someone who doesn't see me as a transaction. And because you're not pretending to be perfect." "Trust me, I'm not," she said, laughing dryly. "I haven't been perfect since, maybe kindergarten." "You've got this way of making chaos feel honest," he said, not smiling, just watching her carefully. "It's disarming." She didn't know how to respond to that, so she took another sip of coffee and looked out toward the ocean. "You're hard to read, you know." "Not really," he said. "I just don't hand people the whole story on the first page." "I don't need the whole story," she said. "But I'd like to know why a man who could have anyone he wants is spending time with someone who's been eating dollar ramen for the past 4 years." He took the empty mug from her and set it on the nearby table. "Maybe because she's the first person I've met in a long time who doesn't talk about who she wants to be, she just is." She opened her mouth to deflect, but he held her gaze. "I'm serious." She looked away. "You don't know me." "Not yet," he said. "But I want to." Later that evening, Fiona stood at the edge of the beach, barefoot in a long cream-wrap dress Jace had arranged to be delivered to her room. She didn't ask how he knew her size. She didn't want to think too hard about how easy it felt to step into this version of herself, the woman who wore silk and walked barefoot through sand under strings of glowing lights. The dinner wasn't loud or flashy. There were no photographers, no gawking strangers. Just a table for two, a soft jazz trio playing under a canopy, and the sound of the tide rolling in like a lullaby. Jace was already waiting for her, standing as she approached. He pulled her chair out and she sat, unsure when the last time was that someone had done that for her. This is. She looked around, insane. In a good way, I hope, in a very confusing way. She picked up her napkin. "I don't know what any of this means." "It doesn't have to mean anything yet," he said, pouring her a glass of wine. "We can just enjoy it for what it is." And what is it? A perfect night. They ate slowly, the conversation stretching between them like a thread, learning, teasing, sharing. She told him about her first design job, how her boss had once made her cry over a font choice. He told her about his first investment tanking because he trusted the wrong partner. They both laughed when the waiter slipped on a patch of wet sand and nearly dropped a tray of oysters. But as the sun dipped below the horizon, something shifted. "I don't usually let people in this fast," Fiona said, fingers tracing the stem of her wineglass. "I don't trust easily." "I noticed." She met his eyes. "And you, do you?" "Only when it matters." She stared at him. "Does this matter?" He didn't answer immediately. Then he leaned forward, his voice low. "It's starting to." Her heart beat louder. She wasn't used to men like him, men who said things like that without playing games or waiting for the right moment to disappear. "After the wedding," she said carefully, "I fly home to New York. I know, and you have a life here or wherever you want. You don't need to follow anyone." "I don't," he agreed, "but I might want to." A silence settled between them, not awkward, but heavy with possibilities. "Why me?" she asked finally. Jace didn't hesitate. "Because you make me want to stay in one place long enough to matter." She felt her throat tighten and looked away, pretending to adjust her bracelet. "You're going to ruin me, aren't you?" "No," he said. "I'm going to make you unforgettable." And when he reached across the table and touched her hand, she let him. Because for the first time in a very long time, she wanted to be remembered. The music drifted behind them as they walked down the quiet shoreline, the tide brushing their ankles. Fiona had slipped off her sandals and carried them in one hand, the hem of her silk dress fluttering around her calves with each step. Jace walked beside her, his jacket slung over one shoulder, sleeves still rolled, his bare feet sinking into the cool sand. Neither of them spoke for several moments. The silence was easy but charged like the air before a summer storm. Fiona kept her gaze ahead, pretending not to notice how close his hand kept brushing hers. "You don't talk about your family much," she said finally. Jace looked out at the water. "There's not much to say." "That sounds like there's a lot to say." He gave a quiet laugh, but it didn't reach his eyes. "My father left when I was 13. My mother worked 2 jobs just to keep the lights on. I started flipping things online to help with rent. That's how I got into business." Fiona slowed her pace. "You built your empire from that." "I built it because I never wanted to feel powerless again." He glanced at her. "But money doesn't fix the things it grows from." She nodded slowly. "Do you ever wish it had turned out differently?" "No. I just wish I'd had someone to show me it was okay to want something more than survival." Fiona took a breath. "You have that now." His voice was quiet. "I might." They walked until the lights of the hotel faded behind them, then turned around. Every step back felt heavier, like the spell would break as soon as they returned. "Tomorrow's the wedding," Fiona said, "and then I go back. I could fly you anywhere. I can't keep running from my real life. I'm not asking you to run, I'm asking you to let it change." She stopped walking. "You barely know me." "I know what it feels like not to breathe until someone walks into the room." Fiona looked at him, eyes wide. "That's not possible after 2 days. It is when everything before them was noise." She felt something inside her shift, unsteady and terrifying. You're serious about this? I don't have time to play games. She looked down at her feet. Neither do I. The next morning, Fiona stepped into the bridal suite early, her hair still damp from the outdoor shower and her dress clutched in a garment bag. The other bridesmaids swarmed her with questions and teasing jokes, but something in her felt different, lighter, but also more uncertain. You look like you just walked off a yacht, one of them said. Fiona forced a smile. I had a weird couple of days. She helped the bride with her veil, tied ribbons onto flower girl baskets, and tried to focus on the ceremony. But her mind kept drifting back to the way Jace had looked at her the night before, and the way he hadn't tried to kiss her, even when it would have been so easy to. After the vows were said and the reception began, Fiona stepped out to the terrace for air. She leaned against the railing, watching the waves crash far below. You slipped out fast. She turned. Jace stood a few steps behind her, dressed in clean black slacks and a slate gray shirt, collar unbuttoned. His hair was wind-tossed again, and he looked like he hadn't slept much. I needed a minute, he stepped beside her. I didn't want to bother you today. You're not bothering me, he studied her face. Are you afraid? Of what? Of what happens if this doesn't fade? Fiona looked up at him. I don't have a box for this. We met because I missed a flight. That should have been the end of it. But it wasn't. No, she exhaled. And now I don't know how to go back to the way things were. Jace's voice was low. Maybe you're not supposed to, she turned to him. What are you offering, Jace, really? He didn't hesitate. A chance to build something real, no strings, no expectations, just the truth. And what's the truth? I haven't thought about anyone else since the moment you looked at me like I wasn't a headline. Fiona's eyes burned. You don't even know what I want. Then tell me. I want to stop living paycheck to paycheck. I want to design spaces that make people feel something. I want to wake up next to someone who doesn't disappear the second things get hard. I don't disappear. No, you don't. And that might be the scariest thing of all. He reached for her hand. I can't promise this won't be messy, but I will show up every time. She let him take her hand, fingers intertwining naturally. What if I fall, Jace? Then I'll catch you. They stayed like that for a long time, the music from the ballroom drifting through the open doors, the night warm and full of possibilities. Later, when the party had died down and the noise faded into soft murmurs, Jace walked her to the hotel suite without saying a word. At the door, she turned to him. I fly back tomorrow, I know. But if I asked you to come with me? I'd already have the jet fueled. She smiled, but it was uncertain. You keep doing things that make it hard to say goodbye. Then don't, she hesitated. You'd really go to New York, for you? Yes. The door clicked shut behind her and she leaned against it, heart thundering. For the first time in a long while, she wasn't sure what scared her more, staying in her old life or letting someone new rewrite it entirely. Fiona stood in front of the full-length mirror in her borrowed suite, her suitcase unzipped on the armchair behind her, half-packed. The sunrise filtered through the gauzy curtains, casting gold across the hardwood floors. She hadn't slept. She'd spent the entire night staring at the ceiling, replaying every word, every look, every impossibly tender moment with Jace. She pressed her hands to her face. What am I doing? There was a knock. Not rushed, not hesitant, just firm, steady. She opened the door and found Jace standing there in a black polo shirt and dark jeans, looking like he hadn't touched his bed either. I thought you might still be here, he said. You thought I'd run. I hoped you hadn't. She stepped aside and he walked in, his eyes scanning the room. You're leaving? I packed. That's not the same as going. He turned to face her. Then what's stopping you? I don't know how to trust this, she said. I don't know how to believe in something that moved this fast. You don't have to believe in the speed, he said. Just believe I mean it. She crossed her arms, trying to hold herself together. You're used to control. You fix problems with money and power. But I'm not a problem you can write a check for. I don't want to fix you, Fiona. Then what do you want? I want to build something that doesn't disappear when the moment ends. She stared at him. You don't even know what my life looks like in New York. I don't care what your apartment looks like or how many cracked subway tiles you step over. I care that when you walk into a room, I breathe easier. She blinked, caught off guard. You say things like that and I don't know what to do with them. He stepped closer. You don't have to do anything, just don't shut the door before we even see where this can go. I'm scared, she said. I am too, she swallowed hard. I can't afford to lose myself in someone who might forget me the second the jet lands. He reached into his back pocket and pulled out a folded envelope, holding it out to her. What is this? Open it. She hesitated, then unfolded the paper. Her eyes scanned the page and offer letter. A legitimate job offer from a boutique interior design firm in Manhattan. Her name printed at the top, a salary that made her knees weak. She looked up at him, stunned. How? One of my venture partners owns the firm. He's been looking for someone with your kind of instincts. I showed him your portfolio. He loved it. Her voice cracked. You went through my work. I remembered what you said about wanting to design spaces that make people feel something. He paused. You deserve the chance to do that. Her fingers trembled around the paper. You didn't have to do this. I know, but I wanted to. If we're going to try this, really try this, I want you to step into your future fully, not halfway. She stared at the offer letter again, then looked at him. You didn't just change my life, Jace. You handed it back to me. He reached for her hand. Come back to New York. Let's find out what we could be in the real world. She didn't speak, but her hand closed around his. At the airport 3 hours later, Fiona stood in the private terminal beside him. This time she wasn't breathless or lost. She wasn't dragging a busted suitcase or running on empty. She was grounded. Present. Choosing as they crossed the tarmac toward the jet, she caught his arm. Wait. He stopped, turning to her. I need to say something before we get on that plane. Okay. I don't care about the design firm or the champagne flights or the ocean view rooms. I care that you saw me when I was falling apart and didn't look away. He didn't blink. I never could, and I have no idea what happens next, she said, but I want to find out, with you. He leaned in and kissed her soft, sure, no hesitation, the kind of kiss that didn't ask for permission but still gave her the choice. When they broke apart, she whispered, You're kind of ruining every other man for me, you know that, he grinned. Good, I plan to. The flight to New York was quiet, not because they had nothing to say, but because they didn't need to fill the silence. Fiona curled into the seat beside him, barefoot, her head resting on his shoulder as the clouds rolled beneath them. He laced their fingers together without a word. When they landed, the city skyline glittered in the distance, and Jace glanced at her. You ready? She smiled. I think I've been ready longer than I realized. He helped her down the steps, then paused at the bottom. One more thing, he said. What? He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small jewelry box. Her breath caught. Jace, it's not what you think, he said, opening it. Inside was a delicate silver bracelet engraved with the words, You changed everything. She touched it like it might disappear. How did you know I'd say yes? I didn't, he said, but I refused to let fear make the decision for me. She stepped into his arms, the city roaring behind them. I think I missed that flight for a reason. He kissed her temple. You missed it so you could find something that mattered. No, she said. I missed it so I could find you. And as they stepped into the waiting car, the city stretching before them like 1,000 open doors, Fiona knew exactly where she was going. Not to some fairy tale ending, but to a beginning that felt more real than anything she'd ever dreamed. This time she wasn't running anymore. She was choosing, and she was choosing him. The Manhattan air was brisk as Fiona stepped out of the black SUV, her heels tapping against the pavement just outside the glass-paneled lobby of her new office building. She clutched her portfolio to her chest, nerves buzzing through her veins like static, but beneath them ran something steadier certainty. Jace stood beside her, adjusting the cuff of his charcoal coat. You've got this. I'm not sure if I'm going to throw up or cry, do both after the meeting. But walk in like you own the building first. She nudged him with her elbow. Easy for you to say, you probably do own half of it. He gave her a sideways glance. Only 2 floors. Fiona rolled her eyes, but the corner of her mouth curved. I still can't believe this is real. Believe it, he said, stepping closer, lowering his voice. You're not here because of me, Fiona. You're here because you earned it. She nodded slowly and took a deep breath. Okay. I'm going in. As she walked through the revolving doors, she didn't look back, Her first week at the firm was a blur of site visits, client meetings, and learning the quirks of the team she was now leading. She found herself immersed in fabric swatches, floor plans, and rooftop terrace proposals, the kind of work she used to dream about while sketching on napkins during lunch breaks. She was good, she knew it, but now she had the platform to prove it. At night, she returned to the penthouse Jace had leased for them at the edge of Central Park. It was temporary, he insisted, until they found something together. Their things were tangled already, her sketchbooks on his desk, his watch left beside her earrings on the marble counter. It wasn't rushed. It was natural. One night, as snow painted the city in soft white streaks, she curled up on the couch beside him, her head on his chest as they listened to records he'd collected from around the world. "You know what I haven't done in years?" she asked, her voice barely above the crackle of the speakers. "Tell me," had a real Christmas. Not just a tree in the corner of a shared apartment or a coffee cup with snowflakes on it, I mean the real thing. Lights, music, ornaments that don't match. Jace brushed a hand through her hair, his voice thoughtful. "My mother used to hang popcorn on string and call it garland. She made this hot cider that always tasted like burnt cinnamon, but she swore it was a secret recipe." Fiona looked up at him. "You miss her every day, but I think she'd like you. She'd tell me not to mess this up. You haven't." "Yet," he teased. She nudged him again, but softer. "This is the part where you ask what I want for Christmas. I already know." "Oh really, you want something that feels like home?" She blinked once, then nodded. "Exactly." By December 20th, the penthouse transformed, not with store-bought perfection, but with warmth. Fiona had decorated the tree in uneven strands of tinsel. Jace had insisted on stringing lights across the windows himself badly. There were mismatched stockings, a crooked wreath, and the scent of overcooked sugar cookies lingering in the air. It was chaotic, uneven, and completely perfect. That night, she returned from a late client presentation to find Jace standing in the middle of the living room, dressed in a black sweater and dark jeans, holding something behind his back. "Before you say anything," he said, "I know you're tired. But I need you to see something." She dropped her bag on the floor. "Please tell me you didn't try to bake again." "No baking, I learned my lesson." He revealed what he'd been holding, a small, white box with a velvet ribbon. She froze. "Jace, open it." Inside was a key, simple, silver. Engraved at the base with one word, "Ours," her breath caught. "What is this?" "A place," he said, voice low. "Not a penthouse, not an investment property, something we choose together, something that's not about status or skyline views." Her fingers closed around the key. "You already found it?" I wanted to wait, but when I saw it, I just knew. Exposed brick, old windows, a fireplace that probably needs work. It's in Brooklyn, 5 blocks from your office, 10 minutes from my foundation's new headquarters. She looked up at him. "You planned all this. I watched you fall in love with your life again, and I wanted to give you a place that could hold it." Fiona didn't speak. She just stepped forward, wrapped her arms around his neck, and kissed him slowly, deeply, the kind of kiss that didn't ask for more because it already had everything. When she finally pulled back, her eyes were wet. "You're not just the best thing that's ever happened to me," he pressed his forehead to hers. "Say it. You're my home." A year later, Fiona stood barefoot in the middle of their sunlit kitchen, paint on her face, her hair twisted into a messy knot. The loft was filled with the scent of coffee and the low hum of an old jazz record spinning on the refurbished player Jace had insisted on fixing himself. He stepped behind her, arms circling her waist, resting his chin on her shoulder. "Do you like it?" she asked, gesturing to the wall she'd just finished painting. "I like you." "That's not an answer." "I'm not looking at the wall," she laughed, leaning back against him. "You're impossible. And yet you love me." "God help me, I really do." They spent the day unpacking the last of the moving boxes, arguing playfully over where the mugs should go and whether the couch needed to be rotated. By evening, they collapsed onto it together, exhausted, surrounded by the life they'd built, one that had nothing to do with jets or penthouses or champagne, and everything to do with each other. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting gold through the tall windows, Jace pulled her close, brushing his lips against her temple. "You know what I realized," he murmured. What? Missing that flight was the best deal I've ever made. She tilted her head to kiss him, slow and sure. And you were the best risk I ever took. They stayed like that long after the light faded, wrapped in warmth, in love, in the kind of forever that doesn't need a perfect beginning to earn a perfect ending. And this time, neither of them looked back.